My orange fudge with sweet condensed milk recipe is easy and delicious. With just a few ingredients and a few minutes, you can make amazing homemade fudge in the microwave that's both flavorful and colorful. Let's go over the ingredients. The base of this fudge recipe is one 14-ounce can of sweet condensed milk and one 11-ounce bag of white chocolate chips, to which I'm going to add one 3-ounce box of orange Jello, one 0.15 ounce packet of orange Kool-Aid. If you don't have that, you can add 0.15 ounces or 4.2 grams of unsweetened orange drink mix, 3 teaspoons of orange zest, a dash of salt, and some food coloring if I need it. I have a loaf pan off to the side that I've lined with plastic wrap. If you want your fudge to be thicker, use a loaf pan. If you want it to be thinner, use an 8x8 casserole dish. Like I said, this fudge recipe is really easy. All I have to do is add the sweet condensed milk, white chocolate chips, and orange zest to a microwave safe bowl, and then melt them together in the microwave on 30-second increments. And then add the gelatin, the Kool-Aid, the salt, the food coloring if needed, and then put it into the dish and refrigerate. So I'll just get started. Now I'm going to add the orange zest. Like I said, 3 teaspoons or 1 tablespoon. I know it's a lot, but you need a lot in order to make this flavorful because we can't add any orange juice. Melted chocolate does not like water or juice or anything like that. So I am going to mix it all together. Once it's all mixed together, I'm going to microwave it on high in 30-second increments, stirring after each increment for a total of 2 minutes. I know that sounds really familiar if you've seen any of my other sweet condensed milk fudge recipe videos. The cooking time is the same, it's just that some of the ingredients that give the unique flavors differ. I just brought the fudge out of the microwave after the first 30-second increment. So now I'm going to stir. You can see it's not really melting that much yet, but it will be melting. This recipe is pretty quick, so make sure that you have everything ready to go. After 1 minute, you can see it's starting to melt now. I highly recommend having a knife off to the side so that you can scrape off your spoon or spatula, because as you can see, the white chocolate and sweet condensed milk mixture, it does tend to stick to whatever you use to mix it. After the third increment, now this fudge is really starting to come together. After 2 minutes of cooking, the fudge has just come out of the microwave for the last time, and I'm sure you can see that it looks a bit lumpy. That's because some of the white chocolate chips still haven't melted totally. But don't worry, the recipe is not ruined. Just keep stirring and the residual heat will melt the chips completely. Now it's time to add the other ingredients. Before I forget, I'm going to add 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. I'm not going to measure, I'm just going to sprinkle it in like this. Then the gelatin. The salt is just to balance out the flavors. Salt enhances flavors in general, and a lot of times if you think a recipe or a dish is missing something, it's probably salt. So even in desserts and fudge, I recommend a bit of salt. Like I said, the orange Jello is going in. Along with the Kool-Aid. If you don't have Kool-Aid where you live, use some unsweetened orange drink mix that preferably without sugar is a bit tart. I'm just mixing it together, and you can see it is a light orange color, but I personally want it to have a little bit darker shade of orange. So I'm going to add some food coloring. Start off with 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 drops of each. 5 drops of red and 5 drops of yellow. This red and yellow make orange. And mix this together. This is probably okay. I'm going to stir this off camera and then I will bring you back. I think this shade of orange is good. Like I said, I want it to be a bright shade of orange, but I don't want it to be dark. And one thing I wanted to mention is that it seems like the Jell-O makes this thicker and harder to stir, so you might want to add the Kool-Aid first and start mixing it together and then add the orange gelatin just to make it easier. Now that this is mixed together, I'm going to take my loaf pan that has plastic wrap in it. I'm just going to pour the fudge into it. This orange fudge with sweetened condensed milk recipe moves quickly, so you want to have all your ingredients together. When you start melting the ingredients in the microwave, you want to make sure that whatever dish you're going to use to harden the fudge, you want that to already be lined with plastic wrap. As you can see, this is already getting kind of thick and it's only been a couple minutes. So this recipe is easy. You just have to have everything ready to go when you start, especially when you start melting. Now that the soon-to-be fudge is in the loaf pan, I'm just using a spoon to smooth it out. Like I have already said, you need to make sure that everything is ready to go because this starts to harden pretty quickly. I actually did most of this off camera so that I could get it done quickly before it started to get hard. So, like I said, just use the back of a spoon to smooth it out as best you can. Now, this is going to go into the refrigerator for probably a minimum of 4 hours, and then it should be firm enough to cut and serve. I tried it, and I like it. Like I said, I let the fudge harden in the refrigerator for 4 hours, but then I couldn't wait any longer, and I just had to cut into it and give it a try. And when I took the first bite, I knew that my orange fudge recipe with sweet condensed milk was a big success because it was delicious. First of all, the flavor. I was impressed by how strong the orange flavor was, although there was definitely a white chocolate flavor in the background, and this was kind of an orange creamsicle or orange white chocolate fudge. The orange flavor itself was still very strong. It came through loud and clear. And what I thought was really nice about this fudge is that oranges are sweet, but they also have a bit of tartness in the background. And this fudge, even though it definitely was sweet, it did have a tartness in the background as well. So it really mimicked the true flavor of orange. It also had that firm yet melt in your mouth texture that people love about fudge. So I think I did a really good job of recreating the flavor of an orange in the texture and form of a fudge. I also really liked the color as well. It was a bright orange color, not a dark, somewhat brown orange color that I was kind of afraid might happen by adding a lot of food coloring. I honestly thought that the color was perfect. I know that a lot of people try not to use food coloring. It's definitely not necessary in this recipe. You can definitely leave it out, but I personally think that adding some food coloring was a good idea because that color just tells your eyes this is orange flavored. Like I said, I thought this recipe turned out great, but one thing I did want to point out is that you might not be able to eat a lot of this fudge. One thing you should know about this recipe is that I've been told some people have a sensitivity to citrus, so they can't eat a lot of oranges without upsetting their stomach. If that's you, then you might not want to eat a lot of this, or you might have to avoid it altogether. But other than that, I think that this recipe is awesome. Like I've already said, I loved how my orange fudge recipe with sweetened condensed milk turned out, especially the color. I think this recipe would be absolutely perfect for the fall, especially Halloween. And actually, one thing you might want to try doing is instead of putting this into a loaf pan, put some plastic in an 8x8 baking dish, put the orange fudge on the bottom, let it harden, and then make my dark chocolate sweet condensed milk fudge and pour that on top and then let that harden as well. I think that a dark chocolate orange fudge would be great not only in terms of flavor but also color. You've probably never heard of orange fudge before. I know I didn't before making this recipe, and I think that it's definitely worth a try because it's so unique. It was easy, delicious, and like I said, that color is just perfect. As always, thanks for watching. See you next time.